Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, that was a busy night of sports there Wednesday night. The Utes losing to Colorado, the Cougars crunching Arizona State, the Jazz losing in overtime at Oklahoma City, much better effort than that disaster in Portland, and the Utah Mammoth winning at home over Ottawa. Let's start with BYU. The Cougars, that was an absolute demolition of Arizona State, 104-76. They were some cross between the Harlem Globetrotters and the 80s Lakers with the Showtime thing. I mean, the ball was flying all over the place. They were flying all over the place. 104 points in a 40-minute game is fairly amazing. Here's the head coach, Kevin Young, after the win.
31 for Richie, just shot an incredibly high percentage. What do you think of his performance?
No, I thought he was, super locked in, and that's what we talked about coming into the game. Our approach in practice 2 days ago I didn't love, and I just challenged the group to kind of start the game and leave no doubt who was the more focused team. I thought he kind of set the stage there. But I thought, his scoring was, really the product of like our spacing and our unselfishness, and then obviously his individual greatness. It was a great night for him. I think is that a career high, Richie? 31. Awesome.
How nice of a luxury is it to have three guys that can outscore an opponent, just those three?
Look, and this is what I told the group, and when we're really trying to just continue to, I think we formed an identity of how we want to play. Now I think the next step for this group is just forming it, like having the right approach and mentality that gives you the edge to go out and be a team that leaves no doubt. Right? That's what I want. Like, we watched that game, there was no doubt how focused our guys were. And when those three guys in particular have that, with their talent and the unselfishness that they play the game with, sky's the limit for not only for that trio but for our team as well.
You had 10 blocks without Kaba in the lineup tonight. How happy were you with how your team troubled shots and kind of made things difficult for Arizona State on offense?
Yeah, look, that's what Beto does. He's now all of a sudden we have a lot of depth at the 5 spot. I think that reared its head tonight. He had 5 blocks in 17 minutes. He started cramping up. That's why we took him out. But, Mihailo has been playing better for us. He's got great length. AJ obviously is all-world athlete who also has, 7'1" wingspan. So I think that's – but bottom line is having hopefully 40 minutes of Kaba and Beto as our backline defense is, very comforting for sure.
What's the status on Kaba?
Yes, yeah. I don't know as far as when he'll be right back, but look, it was a small tweak of a little ankle. He probably could have played tonight, honestly, but we held him out. So.
When AJ and Richie and Rob are cooking like that, as a coaching staff, do you kind of talk to each other about let's not get in their way?
100%, yeah. I learned that in the NBA. Guys are good. Just get space and get them the ball and shut up and move and sit down. And so, but at the same time, let me say that tongue-in-cheek. What I challenge those guys with, though, is like we're going to give them spacing, but then it's a lot of responsibility, though. Then they have to make the right decision. And that's really all I talk to not just them about, but really our team. And we play a pretty free-flowing style, I think. And there's certain responsibilities that come with that. And, those are 3 really mature guys that understand the game and, allows them to be great.
4th time this season, this group's hit 45% or higher from 3. Just what does it do for this team when they're knocking down the 3 ball at a high clip like that?
Yeah, and tonight I thought we had an appropriate volume as well. To get up 31 threes and shoot 25 free throws, if you're not settling. They started out with the big lineup. I thought we were able to sort of open the game up with their bigger lineup out there. But look, AJ and Rob both, and Richie too, honestly. I know he's a great shooter, but, he's able to drive the ball to the basket too. So you got 3 guys like that are putting immense pressure on the rim. You got to decide what you want to do. And if you help, we got guys that can knock shots down. I thought Tyler came in and was part of that as well. So I do think, although I talked about the identity sort of being forged, I think that part of our identity is still a growth process in terms of, last year that's kind of all we were. Now it's starting to become more of who this team is as well.
What did you make of the play Rob made, tracking down that pass from AJ and then flipping back to Richie?
I thought it was awesome, just mainly because of the joy that it brought to the team. Like I show clips all the time with just joy. I love. We're lucky because we get to play an awesome sport for, our living or whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of joy that comes with the game, so it's fun, man. It makes you feel like a little kid, and everyone out there, the fans are enjoying it. It was awesome.
Coach Hurley was in here, just kind of sarcastic, saying the only thing he felt like they accomplished was not allowing Chick-fil-A to be handed out to the fans. It was kind of just his point about how good you guys were defensively. Where do you think it kind of pivoted defensively?
Well, I thought just our attitude to come out, I thought was really good. I mean, we put a lot of time and effort into Mo Odom. I think he's a really dynamic guard. Now, I think it also speaks to how good Moo and AJ can be on the ball. They're different, right? Moo's like this burly, strong guy that's hard to get past, where AJ's got the length. So I think it gets a nice little 1-2 punch there. We brought Dominique in as well to give him another look. But, to hold him 7 points under his average, I thought was clutch. I'm not trying to be the whiny coach, but I think they scored literally 10 straight times in the second half when the game was already away. So, the stats are what they are. I wasn't happy with that, but for the bulk of the game with our main guys out there, I thought we were suffocating defensively.
I was just going to ask you, Kevin, about your progress of your defense, how you feel about it. First half was really good.
Yeah, look, that's a really good offensive team. There's a lot of, we do obviously a lot of scouting, but also a lot of statistical research with our analytics department. And look, they show up in a lot of top categories. They get to the line a ton. They're dynamic. Like I said, I think Odom's a good player. So to hold that team to 30 points in the first half, I thought really, set the stage for how the game was going to kind of play out.
Two more questions. You said the other day you hadn't even looked at Utah. I don't suppose you have yet, but what are your just opening thoughts of going up there again after losing there last year?
Yeah, still ticked that we lost that one. I know Trevin Nell's somewhere mad that he missed those free throws, and just want to go up there and get a win. Bottom line, it's like it's interesting for me. I obviously grew up in the church, but I never really grew up just like a super huge BYU fan. I always respected the program and what it stood for and things like that, but so I didn't grow up with the hate, right? And now that I've been here and you kind of experience it, you just want to go up there and beat those guys, And so, a little personal flavor too, knowing Alex and Wes, their GM. It'll be, I've known those guys for a long time, so it'll be fun to compete against those guys. You tack on the rivalry component. It'll mean a lot for guys like Richie, for his last time to be able to try to get a win in their building. It'll be fun.
There's BYU basketball coach Kevin Young. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the Jazz and the Mammoth, their post-game wraps coming up. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Jazz gave a better accounting of themselves. Sure, they got down by 20 in Oklahoma City, but they fought back in the second quarter, made it close, led in the fourth quarter, and had a chance to beat the champs, who were only 6-6 in the last 12 games and not playing well. But after a big go-ahead hoop with 3 seconds left, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scores at the bucket, and then Oklahoma City wins in overtime. Let's get to the best of the postgame show.
Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott with you. The Jazz went to overtime, but came up just short against the Thunder, 129-125. Jazz had a 2-point lead with 3 seconds to go in regulation after a Lowry Markkanen putback, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hits the game tire on the other side, sending it to overtime, where the Jazz came up just short. Big performances from Lowry Markkanen, 29 and 13. Keontae George, 25 and 11 assists. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 46 points for the Thunder to get the win. Let's get to the postgame sound and Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
Yeah, our scramble around the basket was tremendous in that quarter. They had 4 paint points in the second quarter, which was a really, really good moment for us. I thought the second and the fourth quarters both, we did a great job protecting the paint. And they're a tough team to guard. They're very good at creating the advantage off the dribble. Obviously, Shai gets a ton of credit, and he should, but their team as a whole does an amazing job of putting pressure on the paint off the bounce. So I thought the team did a really good job in the second quarter, to claw our way back into the game. And then in the fourth quarter again, of really shifting to help and guarding the ball. I thought there were some physical plays made at the basket, which is an area that we are really trying to improve. So, like I said, I'm really proud of our team after that game. You know, I wanted that win bad for them coming down the stretch, but if we can just cling to that level of competitiveness, we're going to be just fine.
What were some of those things, kind of late game and overtime, that without rewatching, obviously, that you would like to execute better?
Yeah, I mean, the last play when we're up 2, getting the ball directed to the crowded side. You know, ideally the catch for Shea is a little bit tougher, albeit with 3 seconds left. He does catch it moving out towards half court, but, you know, Bryce is on the inbounder and jumping into shift quickly and, you know, recognizing that with that amount of time, it's hard to take a dribble and pass and have somebody else get a shot off. But Shea does a great job of getting low and getting to where he wants to go with the ball. You know, we also did talk in the timeout about they were in the bonus, and the last thing we wanted to do was foul in that moment. You know, you want to make them earn it by making a tough shot, and he did. You know, credit to Shea, that's why he's the MVP. And then I felt like in overtime, you know, the 2 fouls late in the bonus, the steer foul, and then the foul on the rebound with Chet, you know, those are moments where you want to make them earn it. And again, I don't want that to come across like that's why we lost. It's not. But there are things that you can learn from in these one-possession close games at the end, because you have to do everything to give yourself a chance to win, especially against an elite team.
What made the decision for Walt to be on the quarter late in the fourth and then also overtime? And then in addition to that, I know that he'd probably like to have a few missed shots back, but what can you say about what he was able to do late?
Well, hopefully the reason that Walt was in is relatively obvious. He was playing well. And, yeah, I think, you know, his aggressiveness late in the game was really good for us. You know, it's a good learning moment for Keontae and for Lowry that takes a lot of energy to get to that point, and then it takes a lot more to have the ball and be getting picked up full court and the ball pressure and the physicality that they play with. And I thought Walt being a secondary ball handler was really good for us. You know, made a bunch of plays, but some of the missed shots, you know, they're tough. You know, when you're playing off of a shot fake and a step through in the paint against that team, those shots aren't maybe as easy as they may look to people on TV. I thought Walt was outstanding tonight.
That's Jazz head coach Will Hardy. Let's now move on to the players and hear from Keontae George.
Just say our compete level. I felt for the past probably a couple weeks now, we've been kind of talking about the same things over and over again. Will has been talking to us about the same things over and over again. So just to go out there against the defending champs, obviously, trying to give them our best game and kind of find our identity when it comes to being out there in between the lines. And so like I said, just a compete level. That was the main thing that stood out. So when the compete level is there, you know, that's when we're able to kind of nitpick on some things that could, you know, get us over the hump to, you know, win a game like this.
How important are these late game overtime games against the top teams in the league?
I mean, for sure, really important. I think I've said it before, like just when we can put ourselves like in these situations, you know, having to find ways to take care of the ball, having to find ways to get Lowry the ball and make sure they're clean shots, or even just the 5 people out there, like even Walt tonight, out there playing phenomenal, came in, guarding, rebounding. Like for all of us, that's a great experience, including me. So I think for us, like I said, it's just real important because you know, Will says all the time, young people come in this league and all they want is opportunity. So tonight was an opportunity for us to really play, you know, like you said, against the top team in the NBA, and kind of see where we're at. At the end of the day, we know where we're trying to get to, and we understand it's a process. But like you said, it's really important to find ways to, like I said, put ourselves in tough games or even winning games by 10 or 15. Like if we can, when we can continue to just try to find ways to do that, as a team, we gonna look back on this and understand it was for the greater good.
You mentioned your teammate Walt. What more can you say about what he was able to do late tonight?
I mean, you've seen it tonight. Big time pull up, going right from the three. I mean, I talk to him about that all the time. Like, not a lot of people in this league have that shot. And the fact that, you know, I feel like my rookie year, I worked on that shot, and I kind of tell him, like, don't hesitate, bro. When we out there on the floor together, I tell him all the time, like, we should let it fly. Like, I don't got to be the point guard. Like we just play off each other. And then you add Lowry to the mix. You add whoever you want to add to it, but specifically Walt. Like, he has the ability to score at all three levels. Can pass the ball. I mean, like he got a lot of things to him. So I've just been honestly just staying on him about being confident. Because when you can be a dynamic guard in this league, then you give Will the chance to throw out different lineups. And it don't matter how tall he is or how short his arms are. The fact of the matter is that he was able to impact the game tonight on both ends. So, you know, kudos to Walt. I be on his head all the time, every single day. I talk to him so much. So the fact that he was in this game tonight, you know, I'm just happy for Walt. So the work is showing. Obviously, it showed today, but I just honestly feel like that's another stepping stool, you know, for Walt to kind of come into his own as we go through the season still.
You guys finish this 4-game road trip with a lot of energy, a lot of effort tonight, back-to-back tomorrow against the Mavs. What are you hoping to take into that game after finishing this trip?
I mean, it's the NBA. Like, we know it's going to be, we're going to have tough schedules, whatever it is. I know you hear it all the time, no boys allowed. So I just want to keep harping on our compete level. If we can go back home, we get the energy from our home fans now. So if we can keep that compete level, I mean, like I said, that's when we can nitpick about, you know, the basketball piece as far as, you know, thinking the game out and stuff like that. But if we're not competing, we just laying down, there's no need for, you know, for guys to try to throw out different schemes and stuff like that. So for us, we're young. We should have an advantage when it comes to playing teams, whatever, if they're on a back-to-back or if we're on a back-to-back or not. So I think we just got to just compete, bro. Just have fun doing it, play off one another. So I think this game has kind of really showed us that we got the energy level, the compete level, just everything for us to put a good 48, you know, against, you know, the top of the top.
That's Keontae George, 25 and 11 last night from Key. Let's now hear from Walter Clayton.
Tough environment, but to stay in the game and finish in the stretches, what did it feel like for you in that?
Just felt like, you know, the guys on the coaches had a little bit of trust in me to go out there, you know, be in the game down the stretch.
How are you learning to play in these kind of big moments like this? You've done it in college, but at this level as well.
Yeah, for sure it's different. You know, this is the biggest stage in basketball, so just learning kind of what I did in college. Stay focused, you know, kind of keep my mind straight.
How has you and Keontae's relationship helped you on the court, especially in moments like this? I know you guys talk a lot and to try to help each other out.
For sure, it's just a trust factor. You know, at the end of the day, I know on the court I could trust him. He knows he could trust me. You know, some of that is built off the court for sure.
How much are you leaning on the fact that you know that you're not just like a one-sided guard, that you can do multiple things on the court?
I think I'm just trying to go out every night and do whatever the team need me to do. You know, at this point, obviously, we got some great players and some guys who are going to come out and do what they do every night. So just trying to fill in the holes wherever they are.
Where do you feel like your defense has been lately?
Been up and down. Just got to be more consistent for sure. Just get my chest on people, being a little bit more physical. You know, obviously, they're calling some fouls, so still learning, you know, through that whole situation.
That's Walt Clayton, 15 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, but the Jazz fall to the Thunder, 129-125. Next up, the Jazz have a game tonight. The Dallas Mavericks are in town, 7 o'clock tip, 6 o'clock pregame, right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
There's the best of the postgame show as the Utah Jazz lose on the road, while the Utah Mammoth win at home. Let's get to the best of the postgame show for the Mammoth.
I am thrilled to announce that the Utah Mammoth will be hosting right here in Rice-Eccles Stadium the Discovered 2027 NHL Winter Classic, and we couldn't be more excited about it.
There's NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman announcing yesterday at Rice-Eccles Stadium that Utah and the Mammoth will host the 2027 NHL Winter Classic. It'll be the Mammoth and the Colorado Avalanche. Then we all went downtown to Delta Center, where the Mammoth beat the Ottawa Senators by a count of 3-1 to open a 7-game homestand. It was a contest where the Mammoth jumped up early and never looked back. Lawson Krause, 3:59 into the first period.
Jake Sanderson, the number 1 defenseman for Ottawa. He'll be on Team USA in the Olympics. Backdoor pass, and they score! Lawson Krause lasers one in, and the Mammoth are off and running.
3 minutes and 21 seconds later, John Marino would slam this home.
Schmidt, Keller, one-timer, tipped wide, rebound, they score! Johnny Marino makes it 2-0.
So 2 goals in the first 7 minutes and 20 seconds, both assisted by team captain Clayton Keller for his team-leading 12th multiple-point game. He now has the sole lead for the team in points with 38 in 48 games on 13 goals and 25 assists. So 2-0 Utah there. They'd hang on the rest of the way. Ottawa got one back late in the first. Utah in the second. It was a period with a lot of penalties, a lot of special teams. They had 3 power plays. They killed a couple penalties, kept it 2-1. And in that third period, Karel Vejmelka would keep it 2-1, denying Shane Pinto on a breakaway.
Offensive end for Utah, cut off by Brady Tkachuk. It's a breakaway now for Pinto. Pinto right in, shoots, and he's denied by Karel Vejmelka. Vejmelka's superb night continues.
After it was a 2-1 game for almost half of the contest, 28 minutes and 1 second, Daniil Boot would find this loose puck in the crease and just keep slamming until it went in.
He dips down the near wall. Brandon Tanev around behind the Ottawa net. Wraparound, shut down, rebound loose. It's still loose. They're trying to jam it in. Miralainen got back. Utah saying it's in, and it is. The Mammoth kick down the door and make it 3-1.
Second goal of the season for the 20-year-old, 3-1 Utah, the final. And that is where we ended up on Wednesday night as the Mammoth improved to 21-20-3 on the year and in a 3-way tie for the wild card in the Western Conference. Let's hear what the Mammoth thought of this one, starting with Lawson Krause, who got the scoring started for the Mammoth on his 10th of the year.
The first period, needing to find an answer. It looks like your team found that. What was it, and what did it take, especially towards the end of the game?
Yeah, it took a lot of grind. That pressure kept coming from them. We did a good job. We found a way to close it out. That's what's important.
How were you guys able to channel some of that emotion that turned into some of those penalties, or rather the PK, into, I guess, an emotional discipline?
Yeah, the PK is very... we're very direct, and I feel like we're doing a pretty good job. And anytime you can kill game momentum from that, and but at the end of the day, you got to try and save the box. Yeah.
Game management-wise, what did you assess from your group as a whole tonight?
Yeah, I think there was ups and downs throughout the game, just like there's going to be in any game. But like I said earlier, we found a way to close it out and get a big 2 points.
What stood out about the first period and the energy, the effort, the goals that you guys had?
Yeah, just we were ready to go right from the drop of the puck. And when you get a lead, it's much better to play with a lead.
Your defensemen continue to be on the score sheet, goals, assists. What do you see how that decor contributing every game?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we wouldn't be here without our D, and they contribute all over the ice, defensively, offensively, and it's great to see Johnny get one. He's obviously a great guy and really good with the puck and makes some solid plays, and nice to see him get rewarded finally.
Second game where Krause has been on that top line with Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller, and the Mammoth have started things off with a couple of wins since head coach Andre Tourigny shook up the lines. Utah defenseman John Marino entered Wednesday night leading the team with a +19. He'd finish Wednesday night with a +21 goal differential 5-on-5 when he's on the ice. He scored that second goal. It turned out to be the game winner, his first ever goal at the Delta Center. We heard from him after the game.
To get there, can you kind of just assess how much effort it took, especially towards the middle late of the game, to get there?
Yeah, we got those first 2 goals early. Sure, Kraus touched on it. They had a big push there in the first. They played well. They outworked us at times, and probably overhauled the whole game. We kind of stuck away with that one, but and I think the way we were able to sustain their pressure at least, and just limit their grade A chances. Yeah.
You obviously got a goal tonight as well. What's allowed you to have so much confidence in your game, especially with this group, and maybe as of late?
Yeah, I think it's just the whole team. We've been playing well. Throughout the season, we were just not able to finish some of those wins. It's going to come down to the wire here, but I think overall as a year, despite the record, we've been playing well, pretty good hockey. But I think that's a huge part of it.
When a game like this is emotional, especially in the middle of it, how do you guys feel like you've evolved in not letting those things get the best of you towards the end of the game?
Yeah, it's a long game. There's going to be ups and downs. They're going to have their momentum swings, and we're going to have ours. Kind of like in the second, we got into trouble with the penalties and everything. TK did a huge job. I think that was a big momentum boost for us. Going forward.
Coach has always talked about how it's game by game. Coming into this first game after a lot of games on the road, he wanted you guys to bring energy, to keep that focus. How do you feel your team did with that?
Yeah, I think we fed off that, that last win and, against Rangers, and hopefully we'll feed off this one. But that's what you want to do is, build on top of, good games like that, and take away the good, learn from it, and move forward.
Believe it or not, that was your first goal at the Delta Center. What did it feel like to light up the building for the first time?
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for reminding me.
Karl Vejmelka getting the victory and goal for Utah improves to 19-11-2. He now is in sole possession of the NHL lead in wins. He stopped 32 of 33 a day after being named to the Olympic team for Czechia. So congratulations to Veggie there. Let's hear what head coach Andre Cherney said after the game.
First of all, they're a good team. They play hard. They're tough to play against. They give them a lot of credit. They do a good job. Second, I think, was we play hard, especially at the end of the game. I think early on, even if we took the lead, I think we were that was a little bit an adjustment for us. And in the third, I really think when the game was on the line, when push come to shove, we really raised our game, raised our urgency, and we were really stingy, and we had pace, and we had composure. So I like that. The way we closed the game was 2-1. There was no panic, no stress in our game. That was just urgency and focus. So really proud of the guys for that.
Being able to get 2 quick goals in the first period, first 7.5 minutes, what did you see out of those 2 goals and the effort into getting those?
Yeah, I like the way we scored those goals, in the sense we had traffic, we went at the net, that generated a second opportunity, and so on and so forth. So I think early on our mindset was really good. When we took the lead, we were a little bit more passive, and like I said, they play hard. That's one of the teams this year we played, and they're heavy, they battle hard, they have an intensity, they're hard in their battle. You need to really be ready to work, and the second half of the first period, obviously, then we struggled in our breakout. They won battles, they put pucks at the net. Veggie made a few key saves. Again, will never be perfect. I don't try to criticize the game. It's just you're looking at, okay, what really happened more than just the score. And I think second period was more balanced, and in the third, I really like the way we played 5-on-5. If you look scoring chance at 5-on-5, we didn't get much after the first period. I think we gave 1 or 2 in the second and 1 in the third, something like that. That was really stingy, so really proud of the guys for that.
Mammoth will be back in action on Friday, taking on the St. Louis Blues. Sunday at 5 o'clock, the Columbus Blue Jackets will come to town. On Friday night, we'll be on the air at 6 o'clock here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone with Hockey Night in Utah. Puck will drop just after 7 p.m. And then on Sunday, We'll be back here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, with a 4 p.m. edition of Hockey Night in Utah and a 5 o'clock face-off. We'll have more on the Winter Classic coming up on today's edition of Mammoth Daily. Mike Folta and I, exclusive interviews with Gary Bettman and Logan Cooley, who's been injured for the last month for Utah, but he was up at the big announcement on Wednesday that Utah was awarded the Winter Classic on Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, SCG Plus, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll talk to you coming up on Mammoth Daily, and we'll talk to you coming up tomorrow back here at the Delta Center.
We'll have more on the Utah Mammoth coming up. The Winter Classic coming to Utah. Dom Moore is going to join us to talk about hockey outdoors at Rice-Eccles Stadium. We're going to take a break right now. Come back with BYU's Tanner Wall. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we're joined now by Tanner Wall, former BYU free safety. Tanner, good morning.
Morning, guys. How we doing?
We are doing well this morning. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
As a guy who's been through college football now, as you watch everything that's happening with coaches moving, assistant coaches moving, quarterbacks on the carousel for $5 million or more, is this all new and normal to you, or do you still have some of the, I don't know, stunned, maybe not the outrage, fans have some outrage, but are you still surprised or stunned by it, or is it just new normal and you're not blinking anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be just the new normal. With the way it's structured, I'm not surprised by it at all. To see, I mean, basically, every player in the country is a free agent. It's kind of funny to see, the graphics put out by certain schools saying, I've agreed to another 1-year deal, or I've re-signed, with my college. But that's just kind of the state of where we are right now and how it's set up. So I think we're going to continue to see it unless some changes come down the pipeline. But also, with the way that they have only offered one portal window, the frenzy right now seems to be as crazy as ever.
Yeah, it really is. There's no question about that. And you had worked your way up. You're a success story, obviously, from how you got there and end up finishing as one of the better players, one of the leaders and all that. And that's been acknowledged. Your story has been told. It's a great story. It's something that young people can look up to and aspire to. It's that motivating and all that stuff and inspirational. And with that leadership came opportunities to see who was good as far as the coaching staff and how they came together. So I think you have an opportunity to speak to this more than most folks in terms of what does the loss to Jay Hill mean to this BYU defense and how it overcomes, because he probably wasn't going to stay there forever, and so now he goes, so be it. But what did he mean, and what do they need to do to overcome it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree just on the value that Jay has brought to our program. When he came in 2023, very early on, you could tell the kind of expectations that he had for us as a defense and as a team. And I really do feel good. I feel confident and comfortable knowing that a lot of the things that he has kind of installed and instilled in the players and in the program will continue. From a scheme perspective, this defense is very familiar to a lot of guys on that staff, right? It's the same defense. Kalani knew this defense even before Jay came, right? They all kind of learned it together in their time at Utah. And so this coaching tree and a lot of the guys that we have and have been able to retain at BYU through all of this, they're very familiar with this scheme. Now, obviously, from a leadership perspective, whoever it is that we expect to kind of be the coordinator on the defensive side of the ball is going to have their own nuances and put their own, little wrinkles in it. But, I still feel very confident in the future of where we're going as far as the BYU defense. But again, speaking to Jay, I mean, he's an amazing coach, amazing mentor. The way that he's able to help players and coaches prepare for the games and just feel mentally like they've mastered exactly what they're supposed to do going into the game. You're able to play with a lot of confidence. And I know that's something that he'll take with him wherever he goes.
Jay's been at 3 different schools now, and all the schools have experienced high water marks while he's been there. And football's so big. Nobody does anything by themselves, but you can't ignore the fact that there have been high water marks now at 3 different schools. And I'm curious, and you just started to touch on it there, he's probably good at all this stuff, but where did you feel the most impact? Was it the schemes, and when you're watching film, you're like, wow, this is a super smart game plan. They're not going to be able – we got him. Or is it things that he says on the sideline or in the locker room, and it's like an emotional, psychological thing? What is Jay's superpower?
I think it's a multifaceted thing. Like, I think it comes from a lot of different buckets of his style. From a personality standpoint, he's a competitor at the highest level. He hates losing. He wants to win at everything. But also the culture and just kind of the expectation, as I mentioned. Like we came into the year expecting to win every game. And we came into the year expecting, when we play in the Veldert Stadium, like the home field advantage we have, like we're going to win every game in that stadium. And then for even like he's a coach, some coaches and their styles are different, but he's a coach who would, show up to off-season workouts. He would see, okay, how are we looking running? How are we looking in the weight room? How, is the intensity there? Are the leaders leading? And so there was this accountability that was ingrained into everything that we did. And then going back to just like the game day prep, it's a next level of preparation that, I think most people would love to see the whole process and see exactly what he does and how he builds his call sheet. And by the time he gets to game day, he's got the things so dialed as far as exactly what calls he likes in different situations, between pressures, man pressures, zone pressures, what I like in third and medium, what I like on base downs based on where we are in the field, based on personnel. And he's got it, so figured out by game day. It's like this game of chess, but he's, kind of feeling like he's not reacting, but he's two to three steps ahead, knowing exactly what he wants to do. And his preparation is, I don't know if psychotic is the right word. that might have a negative connotation to it, but just trying to paint the picture of truly how much time and effort he puts into that.
As you say, these guys learned this at Utah, so it has been imparted to the guys who've stayed on the staff. At minimum, it's rubbed off on them, and more than likely, it's far greater than simply saying it's rubbed off on them. It's ingratiated in them. So with that in mind, if you were the president of BYU football and had the opportunity to make the decision, would you rather see someone be elevated internally or go outside?
Well, it's a good thing I'm not the president making that choice, but I really do feel a lot of confidence knowing the coaches that we have on the defensive side of the ball. I think there's a lot of guys who could do that job extremely well. Gary Anderson's a name that's been thrown around a ton in recent, days and weeks. And the value that he's added at BYU too has to be recognized. I think he's kind of one who flies under the radar quite a bit to fans and others who maybe don't really understand the level of involvement that he has, just because it seems to be somewhat of a backseat role, but he's very much in the day-to-day and helping us really dial our scheme. And Coach Kelly Papinka is another one who, has had a lot of on his plate with being our special teams coordinator, and has done an incredible job doing that. And I could see him as well being someone who could play a huge role as a play caller. But even Kalani, if he wanted to, be more of a guy with a play sheet in his hand on game day, I could see him doing that. But there's a lot of, as you said, that coaching staff, because they're day in, day out doing this and they've been learning it and feel comfortable with it. There's a lot of them who know that scheme, understand it. We can put our own, spin on it as far as where we want to take it. But it's gonna be there. If it's an internal hire, then it's gonna continue to look a lot like what it looks like right now.
Can you explain to us how Kalani handles the part about being really involved, but at the same time letting coaches coach, which we've heard multiple coordinators and position coaches down there have praised him for that, but at the same time he doesn't have his hands off the reins either. How do you see him balance those things?
Yeah, it's definitely his unique way of doing it. And from a player's standpoint, Kalani's ultimate strength from our point of view is just the leader that he is, and how he's able to really just inspire the boys and make sure that we all feel valued and feel like we have something to add to the success of the team, whether you're a scout team guy or whether you're an All-American starter. Everyone plays a role in the program. And from a leadership perspective, he, is very good at doing the managerial things of, being the captain, guiding the ship. But as you said, he gives a lot of autonomy to the coordinators. He doesn't want to step on toes and, because at the end of the day, you got to recognize this is a profession and a field with a lot of egos from players and from coaches, right? You got a lot of guys who want to be successful, got a lot of guys who, have their own way of doing things. And so from Kalani's point of view, I think he understands how valuable it is to let coordinators and let position coaches, have their own autonomy and call their own shots. And if there's moments when he needs to step in, then he will. But I think that just comes from the level of trust that he has for his staff. And I mean, when you look at his staff too, it makes sense that he does that. You've got amazing coaches across the board, across all positions. So letting them kind of take the reins in their own rooms and on their sides of the ball, I think he's very comfortable knowing that they're going to do it exactly how he expects them to. And if there's, some changes or things that need to be made, then he can step in.
If a 15-year-old came to you now and said, hey, I've watched you, I know your story, I want to be the next Tanner Wall, I want to be a Satawala, whatever it might be, what would you say to a youngster as someone who wants to achieve what you've achieved? What would it take and what would they need to do?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. There's a lot to that. The thing that I would say to focus, the level of discipline that you have to achieve, something like this is next level. Just because there's a lot of kids out there who are great athletes, right? There's tons of great athletes across the country who could play at the next level. But, you have to be the kind of person from a leadership perspective where, your team, if you were not going to play on a Friday night game in high school, your team was going to feel it. It's shoot, that's a hole that we don't really know how to fill. Your value to your team has to be so high, both on and off the field. But also there's a level of that too, where it's just you got to be a playmaker. You have to find a way to impact the game anytime the ball touches your hand or, a play comes near you. And so you got to prepare for those opportunities. But also football IQ and studying film is a huge thing. And I think that's one thing in high school that can go undervalued just because of resources or coaching or other things. But, your understanding for the game can help you, perform at a high level. And I think if you haven't seen the whole process, or maybe you're not too familiar, like as a high school kid, you're going to think, okay, more footwork, more lifting, more routes on air with my quarterback or whatever it is. And it's like, your body can only take so much. It's like, you gotta train the mind as well. So be a holistic, be the full picture football player where you can be, a star across all the different levels of what it takes to be great.
How much film do you watch in season? How much film do you watch in the off season? How much do you watch your own film? How much do you watch other teams? And how much, when you're in high school, should a high school kid be watching college and pros? And when you're in the college, how much should you be watching the NFL? Figuring those guys are even more detail oriented.
Yeah, no. So in a typical week for us, I mean, we're probably together as a unit, probably 7 to 8 hours, I would say, of film. And then outside of that, I think those of us who take it very seriously are watching, close to an hour a day on our own. And so, that adds up to, let's just call it 15, 16 hours a week for a game. And then in high school, the thing in high school that can be tough is like either film quality might not be as good or the angles. And so it might be a little bit harder to break down depending on like what sort of resources your school has. But like if a school has the opportunity to invest in that kind of stuff, like I would say absolutely do it. Just being able to watch film from both a sideline angle and an end zone, a back or a front angle is huge. The NFL film, it's interesting because the way that kind of, Coach Hill he taught us to watch film and look for tendencies and patterns and those kinds of things. The NFL is very different from traditional college patterns, I would say, because, there's a lot more under center. They throw the ball a lot more from like pistol under center. And there's, different patterns with that. So I'm kind of excited to make that jump as far as watching and looking for, different tendencies and things that I can learn as far as, what differentiates the pro schemes from a lot of the college ones.
You speak of the NFL, I assume you're going to give that an opportunity to see how it plays out, and you're well aware that the lifespan of the average NFL guy isn't very long. So with that in mind, short-term NFL opportunity, what do you want beyond that?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna pursue my football career in the NFL for as long as I can. Feel like I got a good shot and can add a lot of value wherever I end up. But I got my degree at BYU in finance, and I've been working on my
Yeah, Tanner's joining us by video there, and it froze and locked up. So I think he was working on an MBA, I think he was about to say. We'll see if we can get him back.
He continues to be more impressive.
I know, right? Well, you could tell by his answers. He's back with us now. Tanner, you locked up there. You got your degree in finance and?
Oh, yeah. And I've been working on my master's as well. So I've been getting my MBA, and just through a lot of the networking and other, cool opportunities that I've had to rub shoulders with amazing alumni and others in and around BYU, have become connected to some cool entrepreneurial ventures and opportunities with some startups. So I've, been able to do some work with them on the side as an intern and doing different things. So got some really cool opportunities. My level of involvement right now is small, but a lot of them have said the thing, whenever you're not a football player, we want you working and doing some stuff with us. So have some cool opportunities in the business realm to pivot into that whenever the football train comes to a stop.
Reno Mahe, after he was in the NFL a few years, said he would tell every high school and college player, embrace special teams. Don't be one of those people who runs from those. That you've got to have that to make it in the NFL, unless you're a quarterback or a superstar, I guess. How many special teams do you think you can play in the NFL?
I mean, shoot, I'd like to think I could play all of them. I've played a ton of special team snaps in my career at BYU. So, I can block on punt and cover, block and cover on kickoff and kickoff return. I played a lot of punt return. So, I mean, I've done it all. So I'm confident that I could contribute on any of those teams at the next level.
All right. Well, Tanner, good luck going forward. Thanks for joining us and sharing your perspective on the wild world of college football today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's nice to be with you guys this morning. I appreciate it.
There's former BYU safety Tanner Wall. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.